Reaching out for something you got to feel. While clutching to what you thought was real. Kicking at a dead horse pleases you. No way of showing your gratitude. So many things you don't want to do. What is and what have you got to lose? What the hell? What is it you think you're gonna find? Hypocrite, boredom's a tip to the boring mind. Struggle with it. It suits you fine. Struggle with it. You're ruined. Struggle with it. You seal your own coffin. The struggling within.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode live of Pirate Radio, or not live if you're listening to this later on, and thank you if you are. On this episode, we're going to talk about, and by we, I mean me, the royal we, are going to talk about another ICE-involved shooting, the kick the dead horse of the us versus them. We're going to talk about the Second Amendment again, and we're going to talk about responses by our overlords here, our political betters, if you will. And we'll discuss a little bit of color revolution. But before we get started here, I want to take just a quick second and tell you guys to go and support a friend of mine who is selling her wares. If you guys are not familiar with Steak, the Steak Mafia, Steak and Legs 69, 2 G's and Legs apparently. Steak and Legs 69 on the Twitters. She does some really cool patches, shirts, what have you. She made this patch. Fuck the ATF. It's this one, the goose. I think I will cause problems on purpose. Name tag with my Twitter handle on it. And one of my all-time favorites, If You Shoot Me, You're Gay. Anyway, she sells patches. She can do custom work. Obviously has different colors, you know. And then like the gold here is shiny, and then this is sort of reflective here. I don't know. I can't know if you see that. Anyway, go support her. I'll put a link to her bio on there, and you can just DM her and look. Bears money. She takes Cash App only. Anyway, and American dollars only. None of that crazy shit from Canada or Cuba or Mexico or any of that crap. I used to think so. I don't know. I'll let her run her own business. Anyway, so if you're not familiar, ICE shot another person. This one's a little more complicated than the last one. Last one was very complicated as well. So I will, what do I want to do here? I want to play some video of the incident that took place. And let's see here. Let me get it queued up here. Well, we're producing. Bear with the producing. We will share screen. So this is an incident that took place, I believe, on January 23rd, 24th, somewhere in there. Doesn't really matter what day it happened. That means that Alex Preddy is no longer. So this video is already after the ICE agents have made contact with Alex Preddy and the female assailant, and here's what happens. You have the agitators blowing whistles, and we have Mr. Preddy goes down. If you haven't seen that video, you can go find that video. It's kind of everywhere. It's all over X. It's all over everything. I just want to show that video to kind of set a baseline if you're not familiar with kind of what we're going to talk about here. At least some of what I'm going to talk about here. There was another video that came out, I don't know, a few days ago to maybe 3 days ago that allegedly is of Alex Preddy as well. And I will let me share the screen. I think most people are also familiar with this video. If not, here you go. It's a pretty good kick.
Our team received a tip that federal agents were blocking a street at the corner of East 36th and Park Avenue in Minneapolis. We arrived around 10:15 a.m. We saw observers shouting at the agents as they walked back to their vehicles. When they started driving away, the man kicked their taillight. An agent then got out of the vehicle, grabbed him, and pushed him to the ground. During the altercation, agents fired tear gas and pepper balls into the crowd. They continued to hold the man down before they retreat and he walks away. The man in our footage is wearing a similar outfit to what Preddy was wearing on the day he was killed. What appears to be a gun is also visible above his waistband.
Let me try to get a little better video. Okay, so we're told from the first video that Alex Preddy had a pistol on him, a Sig Sauer P320 pistol. Okay, I don't really care that he had a pistol personally, as a guy who carries a pistol every day. There are some very odd things about the second video that came out. I don't believe this is an AI video. There's been some speculation that this may be an AI video, and it may very well be. I don't believe that it is, but it is odd that he's wearing what appears to be the exact same outfit as the day that he was shot, approximately 1 week later. One of the things that is odd to me about this video is we saw the agents. He vandalizes the agent's vehicle. There's no doubt about that. The agents then get out, take him down, scuffle with him, have him on the ground. They see that his pistol is visible. It's obviously visible when they have him down. They do not cuff nor detain him, which I don't quite understand. He has vandalized your vehicle. It's obvious. You can see the taillight hanging out. He didn't just kick it and, possibly scuff it or dent it. He kicked the taillight out, which is now dangling. He vandalized a vehicle. Seems like that's an arrestable offense in and of itself. Now, do federal authorities have arrest power in a local municipality? Have they been cross-deputized? What have you? I don't know the legalities of that, but it seems to me that you have all the predicates there to hook up Mr. Preddy, zip tie him, cuff him, whatever they have on them, and take him away to process or what have you. You just you vandalize a government vehicle. So, why they didn't do that, I will never know. This second video has been used by so many folks on the right to prove that Alex Preddy had it coming 1 week later, and that's why he had to be shot to death, because he did this to a vehicle. Now, your own video that you're using as evidence, guys, actually ruins the point you're trying to make. It's the ultimate self-own, because this video right here, where he scuffles with officers, his shirt comes up, they obviously see his pistol, that right there is more of a predicate. Once he puts distance, once he gets to his feet and he puts distance between him and the ICE agents, this is a bigger predicate for lethal force than it was when he was disarmed in the previous video, which happens a week later, that the what appears to be an ICE agent comes up, takes his pistol off of him. Not 100% sure what happens in the video in which he loses his life. There's some debate on whether the P320 that was pulled off Mr. Preddy fired. I can't tell that it actually fired. The video is too grainy. I don't see a recoil of the slide personally. I do hear a shot, but if you mix that with the other videos, it looks like one of the agents who drew his pistol, when he saw the other agent grabbing at the pistol in Mr. Preddy's waistband, appears to be the guy who fires the first shot, and then everyone jumps off, forms the line as they do. I know it looks like an execution, but that's so you don't have crossfire between the agents in a officer-involved shooting. But this is the video that proves everything against yourselves, guys. Let's notice the posture of the federal agents here, the ICE agents. I don't see anyone. They're all armed with at least pistols that I can see. Most have long guns. I don't see a long gun raised at Mr. Preddy, who now is to his feet facing the officers, who they now know has a pistol in his waistband.
Gun is also visible above his waistband.
The only gun that gets raised is a pepper ball gun. That's what that officer right there has, is a pepper ball gun. No one has a pistol out. No one is drawn down on Mr. Preddy, other than a pepper ball gun and a bear spray canister in this guy's hand. You have a guy who acted
Here,
in
he
a
continues to stand at the scene.
violent manner, if you will, I guess. You know, you can definitely make that case if you kick the light out of a vehicle that's not non-violent. It's aggressive, at definitely aggressive. You know, a violent action is open to interpretation until you actually make contact with a human. He did scuffle with the police, or the ICE agents, but they kind of initiated that, and they had probable cause and a predicate to initiate that. But the thing that's so crazy is that he's obviously armed. They know he's armed. They didn't try to disarm him. They have now turned their backs to an armed man who is now has distance and is now kind of melting into the crowd, if you will. And now he starts to approach them again as they're leaving. None of them draw down on this man. None of them. He's walking towards their vehicle yet again. Do you see anybody drawing down on him? Anyone? There's officers all over the place. I mean, full battle rattle tactical.
The day he was killed, the Department of Homeland Security claims Preddy, a 37-year-old ICU nurse, approached officers holding a handgun.
Okay.
That claim has been contradicted by analysis of bystander videos from multiple news investigations, which
Preddy has his over jacket back on.
concluded that Preddy was holding a phone,
Appears to be
not a
putting
gun,
his
when he was pinned to the street.
gloves back on. Seems to be slightly calmed down. Agents seem to be gathering up into their vehicles to leave. He's got his hat back on. Seems to be fairly chill. I'm sure he's saying some very not nice things to the officers. First Amendment right. Don't have to agree with it, but
Shortly
it's his
after
right.
the altercation we filmed
Protected
here
right.
on January 13th, federal agents drove away.
And the agents are going to leave.
Soon.
Okay. So, guys, you cell phone yourself when you post this shit. And you go, you see? He was an agitator. You see? Yes. Yes, he was probably an agitator. Was he a peaceful protester? I don't know. Doesn't seem like it. It's kind of open to interpretation. Didn't seem very peaceful when he's kicking the shit out of that light. He doesn't seem like he's ready to kill somebody. But I'll get deeper into that later on. Let's go and see what our political bettors have to say. So here is Department of Homeland Security's Kristi Noem, head of Department of Homeland Security, former governor of some state that no one gives a shit about. Let's share the screen. Bang, bang. Let's hear Kristi Noem, what she has to say. Hold on. We're producing.
The lives of his fellow officers around him, an agent fired defensive shots.
All right, we're going to pause right there. That's a flat out fucking lie. Flat out lie. You were just lied to by your side, okay? This is why the us versus them nonsense, the lens that everyone wants to view this from, is retarded. This is your us. If Preddy's the them and you're the us and you're on the side of DHS and the ICE agents and all of that, which I understand being for the mission, that doesn't mean you have to excuse every stupid action that ICE takes. Okay? Not all of their actions are stupid, but the actions that they took in the shooting of Renee Good and the shooting of Alex Preddy were stupid actions. Were they, malicious actions, malice aforethought, something that they wanted to do? No. I don't believe that at all. Were they grave, tragic accidents of bad training, miscommunication, and just, circumstances that were shitty on all sides? Sure. Did Alex Preddy deserve to be shot to death? Absolutely not. Did Renee Good deserve to be shot to death? Absolutely not. Did they make decisions that put themselves in a situation in which they could have been shot to death or hurt severely by ICE agents, or at the very least arrested? Absolutely they did. Everybody's making bad mistakes here. As the agents, you have to... This is the whole thing of policing, okay? It's a hard fucking job, all right? It gets made harder and harder every day, especially if you're a federal agent and the local Smokies have been told to stand down and not help you. It makes it very, very difficult. I get it. But the video that supposedly is supposed to prove how bad of a guy that Alex Preddy is and that he had it fucking coming, like everybody on my supposed side wants to say, is the same video that shows, yes, he was armed, but he wasn't going to use it. Okay? The same people telling me that Alex Preddy shouldn't have had the gun and done what he did, that therefore makes it where you can just shoot the guy. Most of you carry every day or most days. So you're signing your own death warrant by saying this, or you're just saying that you're so cucked you would never ever protest anything ever, no matter how bad it got. I don't know. Let's go listen. Let's continue listening to our wonderful DHS boss.
Medics were on the scene immediately and attempted to deliver medical aid to the subject, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect also had 2 magazines with ammunition in them that held dozens of rounds.
2 magazines that held dozens of rounds? I'm sorry. Does Kristi Noem work for the Gifford Foundation? Unbelievable. Let's see how much more.
He also had no ID. This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at the scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement.
That's a fucking lie. More of lies. He was there to try to inflict maximum damage and kill law enforcement. Well, I have the benefit of the video coming out afterwards, which everyone, again, wants to tell me that this was the Alex Preddy death warrant video. Well, guess what? He wasn't hell-bent on killing law enforcement because he had every chance, not only when they got out of the vehicle, after he scuffled with those officers on the video where he kicks the light out, once he created distance, he could have started lighting the guys up who had just pepper ball guns out. Jesus Christ, she's so fucking horrible at this.
About hundreds of protesters then showed up at the scene. They began to obstruct and to assault law enforcement officers.
By the way, in the back here, notice they're on Twitter. Just food for thought.
We saw objects being thrown at them, including ice and other objects, and a rampant assault began, and even an HSI officer agent's finger was bitten off.
By the way, throwing ice at law enforcement is a predicate to be shot in the face. Just FYI, don't do that. So whoever threw ice did more than Alex Preddy did. And this is the other thing that everyone wanted to do day of, is point out that some protester bit like the tip of the finger off of an ICE agent, which they did not shoot that person, but they wanted to equate whoever bit the finger off with Alex Preddy, and then saying that, well, he had it coming. Stop doing that. He didn't have it coming, okay? One thing has nothing to do with the other. Just like, even if that video is legit and it's not AI, which none of it seems to be fake, of Alex Preddy kicking the taillight out, that is not a predicate for a week later or whatever, 11 days, to shoot him in the back and shoot him while he's on his knees. That these things do. The idea that the agents who had him down on the day of the shooting and the day in which he died had any idea who they had is ridiculous. There are different teams working together. If you notice, all the agents in the video from the previous interaction in which Preddy left, all of those agents were dressed in OD green, seemed to be like Border Patrol or something like that, but seemed to be uniformed up in a certain way. They were all dressed in the same color of green, okay, head to toe. You go to the original video on the day of his death, all of those agents are more like, they look like us in Indy. They look like, they're wearing Carhartts with Kevlar over the top, and, they've got all the stuff they need, but they look a little more casual, okay? A casual battle rattle, if you will. So the idea that these guys knew who this guy was, and they knew he had a gun, and they knew all this different stuff, and blah, 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 it's absolute fucking nonsense. Neither video has anything to do with the other one. The video of him kicking the light has nothing to do with the second video. These things are independent of each other, even though it might be the same guy. Okay, so there's no way for those agents on the day of the shooting to know who this guy was. Oh, but he was known to him because he had interacted before with him and this, that, and the other. Yeah, there's a bunch of these people, okay? And maybe they're paid to be there. Maybe it's not, a grassroots thing, which I firmly believe that it's not. At least most of it's not, just like the BLM George Floyd bullshit. But there's dozens, if not hundreds of these people just by Secretary Hare's fucking own admission. There's hundreds of protesters and demonstrators and what have you there. You think these guys know all of this? These guys, it's fucking ridiculous. Anyway, back to the bimbo.
Crowd control measures were deployed to bring safety to the public and to law enforcement at the scene. And once again, I want to remind everybody that this situation and this tragedy did not have to happen.
No shit. You're terrible at this. My fucking God, is she bad at this. Okay. As if it didn't get worse. Then there's the googly-eyed Indian fella. Kash Patel, our head of the FBI. Brother Kash, gonna save us all, right? Sure. Oh. All right. Let's see what our beloved FBI director, pedo protector, has to say about it all, shall we? Here's Kash Patel with, I don't know who the hell this lady is, on Fox News.
Thousands of people are marching through Minneapolis. They are targeting the Border Patrol. It feels like the rhetoric and the protesting is only ramping up. What is your advice to the people right now who are outraged that this is a second killing at the hands of Border Patrol in 2 weeks?
As Christy said, you cannot bring a firearm loaded with multiple magazines to any sort of protest that you want. It's that simple. You don't have that right to break the law and incite violence. We will, of course, always protect your First Amendment speech. And if you peacefully protest, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But you have seen a trend here, not just in Minnesota, but across the country, in these protests turning into violent scenarios and people attacking law enforcement. That's when you go over the line, and that's when law enforcement steps in.
Just in case you didn't catch it.
As Christy said, you cannot bring a firearm loaded with multiple magazines to any sort of protest that you want. It's that simple. You don't.
Okay. That's your us. That's your guy. He's on your side. You cannot bring a loaded firearm with multiple magazines to a protest. That's your guy. That's your guy. Okay? That's your us. You're on team right? That's team right. What the fuck is he actually doing? Can anyone tell me what Kash Patel's doing other than possibly running a fucking hotel on the side? What has he done besides protect, a pedophile ring and a serial rapist in any number of high-profile things he hasn't done? Has he arrested anyone in Antifa? We designated them as a terrorist organization. Okay, where's the Antifa arrests? Is it still fucking zero? Because I still think it's still fucking zero. But Kash Patel now sounds like he works for Giffords or Everytown or any of those other gun-grabbing organizations and say, you can't take a firearm to a protest. You can't have... He had multiple magazines, and they were loaded. But he'll protect your First Amendment right, unless it's about Israel. He'll protect your First Amendment right, unless it's about Epstein. But he'll protect your First Amendment right, but he won't protect your Second Amendment right. He's going to take that away from you. That's your guy. That's your us. This whole bullshit, it's us versus them. I get it. You say it's us versus the commies. Well, we ain't going after the commies. Maybe we should dig up J. Edgar Hoover, who actually went after commies, deported people, and anarchists and other things. Maybe that's your guy. I don't know. Cross-dressing aside, he got shit done, right? I don't know. But there you go. And Trump reinforced it a day later, saying, nope, can't have the guns, can't bring them, blah, 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 whatever. Most 2A administration out there. There you go. Sure. Whatever. That's your us. That's your guy. That's your guy. You have at some of the highest levels of the executive branch telling you that you're not allowed. Not only not allowed to have the firearm, but now they're using the same talking points of multiple magazines and high-capacity magazines and fully loaded and all this, that, and the other, and you can't have them. He didn't have his ID when he had his magazines and his pistol. Wow. This is why a few weeks ago when I did the Us versus Them episode, I tried to tell everyone, I'm trying to get it through your fucking head, there might be an us versus them. It's not the us versus them you think it is. And every time you do an us versus them and you choose a side and you say, well, it's our side, we're Republicans against the Democrats. These are both Republican retards, okay? They don't give a shit about you. They don't care if it was you that got shot to death in that. They don't give a damn about you. All of the people who want to tell me that Alex Preddy had it coming or Renee Good had it coming, you did this stuff and you put yourself in this situation and, you just deserved what you had coming to you, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let me throw a name out there. Ashley Babbitt. Did she have it coming? Because it's the exact same thing. You're in a place where you're not supposed to be, or you're doing something you're not supposed to be on a protest. You're not supposed to be protesting, and you got shot. You had it coming. I don't think Ashley Babbitt had it coming. I don't think Alex Preddy had it coming. I don't think Renee Good had it coming. The other part of this is this is the idea. This is what that side that you're supposedly is the them. This is exactly what they want. This is what they want. They want the reaction and they want the overreaction. This is like the Castro-style revolution in Cuba. This is the National Socialist movement against the communists in Germany, in the Weimar Republic. You go out, you get your ass kicked, maybe somebody dies, and you look like the victim. You look like the guy who needs, that poor man, that poor group, that poor blah, 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 whatever, and you draw the sympathy card from the public at large. You draw that sympathy card. And as you draw that sympathy card, the ruling power cannot crack down on you. And the more they crack down on you, the more sympathetic it looks. This is a playbook of color revolutions as well, guys. This is part of the playbook where you create these groups that are against the power structure, the current regime, if you will. You prop up these groups in a non-organic way, in a non-grassroots way. You fund them. You give them ways to operate. You put them in places that are hotbeds. And then you pray for one of them to get severely injured or murdered on TV, on camera, have a reporter there covering it back in the day, and now you draw the sympathy card. Now your revolution starts to gain momentum. Now you have something you can build off of. We can call it martyrs. You can call it victims. You can call it whatever. Martin Luther King Jr. did the same thing with the March over the Bridge in Selma. Now, no one died, but they knew what was going to happen. That's why they all dressed in their best clothes, and they knew they were going to get their ass kicked on the other side, but they knew the press was there, and they bet on the fact that the American public could not stomach watching dogs and cops with batons beat the shit out of these nicely dressed black people who were peacefully walking hand in hand, arm in arm. And cops just beating the shit out of them. And it works. Now, their cause, obviously, was a lot better than this cause. And we can all look back and say that, obviously, all Americans deserve equal treatment under the law. Okay? Can we apply that here, where we don't just kill a guy in the street because he had a gun on him like all of us do, or most of us do? I mean, I technically went to a protest once. I was at one of the Tea Parties. You remember that movement back in the day? I was at the San Antonio Tea Party. Okay? It was peaceful. Nothing happened. Ted Nugent played the Star Spangled Banner in front of the Alamo. That was pretty cool. I think he made a speech first or second. I can't remember. But made a speech, played the guitar. That was badass. Everybody hung out. Nothing really happened. It was a good time. Big crowd. I wasn't carrying back then, but everybody was cool. Okay? But technically, that's a protest. I mean, how far away are you from a protest? And I remember being there at that Tea Party, and some like little neo-Nazi skinhead homos showed up, and a bunch of people, they had their little gay flag or whatever, little spindly looking fucks. They showed up, and a big group of people said, no, you guys got to go. Get the hell out of here. And they were run off. There's like 3 of them. They were all like little dorks, maybe 110 pounds soaking wet, 5'4". I mean, it was just ridiculous. But you take that and you bump up the numbers and you have a little more resolve within them. Now you go from a protest to a potential fight when you're telling them to leave. And now it's like, well, whose side what's on? And look, you have to keep your same based arguments across the board. Okay? That's really the whole thing. It's crazy to see the left and the right align now all of a sudden on the talking point of guns and firearms and people carrying them for personal protection and for CCW. It's amazing. And that's your us. That's the side that you've chosen. Because they're doing immigration enforcement, which is great. But here's the thing about the immigration enforcement. I'm all for it. But the thing is that the physical enforcement of the immigration policy accounts for very, 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 very little of actual deportations, according to our own DHS under the us side, under your side. I have the article, the latest thing right here, that says, well, we're trying to share it. It's thinking about it. Great. Add the stage. There we go. Technical difficulties aside, here we are, producing. So, as of January 20th, 2026, Secretary Noem keeps America safe, transform DHS, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so, this is a quote. In President Trump's first year back in office, nearly 3 million illegal aliens have left the United States because of the Trump administration's crackdown on illegal immigration, including an estimated 2.2 million self-deportations and more than 675,000 deportations. Okay, guys. The point is, if you want deportations, that's how you get deportations right there. Okay? The self-deportation aspect is the deportation aspect that works the best. It's also the least invasive. It has the least amount of error. It probably will result in the least amount of dead Americans at the hands of ICE agents over bad training, just miscommunications, bad situations on all sides, impossible situations to maneuver. How do you get self-deportations? Well, you have to go after the employers. If these people can't work, then why would they be here? You have to go after the benefit structure, which means, all of the Social Security benefits, the SNAP, the food, all of that stuff has to go away. You have to go after, like I said, the employers. You're going to have to, which is not going to happen, by the way, because Donald Trump and this administration has chosen big business. He's already reneged on the service industry and the food industry. He did that over a year ago. Funny how none of you remember that. But you need to go after that. You need to go after remittances. You need to tax remittances at, seize remittances. No more overseas remittances or to certain countries or whatever. Or you can tax them at 50%, 75%, whatever it is. Make it impossible for them to operate. And they'll just leave because there's no reason for them to be here. And if you can't have a job and you're getting rounded up at your job, at your employer, or the employer won't hire you because you don't have your papers, then guess what? Then you have to leave. And again, that's going to result in very, very few, almost zero, ICE agents shooting people. Okay? Now, once you have that done, why not go into, Texas, Oklahoma, Florida, Louisiana, The craziest part is that this is happening in Minnesota, which I understand you have the Somalis and there are illegal immigrants in Minnesota and what have you. But why is it not targeted at New Mexico, Arizona, Texas? Wouldn't they be a little more sympathetic to your movement here? Maybe you get some pushback in Arizona because under retardation that state has gone blue, but start in Texas, start in the red areas, go to red cities, go to red states, start in those places. Go to Idaho, Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, all of those places. Start where you get the easiest victories, okay? And if you deport all of them, great. You're going to push them to the sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. I get it. Push in that direction. Let them fail. Cut off federal funding to those cities and those states. You have the House and the Congress. Why aren't you doing it? Because you don't want to, because it's going to cripple businesses. And you've chosen the businesses, the hotels, the food service, all of that. You've chosen that over the American public, okay? Again, your side, your us, has chosen the big business and illegal immigration and illegal immigrants over you and over American citizens, you, your children, your future generations. They've chosen that over you. There you go. But at least we have tariffs. Oh, wait, Iran. Well, you better worry about Iran. Your kid won't have a job, and they might be maimed because they're going to have to go to Iran and fight some fucking war over nothing. Still nothing. Oh, but we need to free the Iranian people, says the Ted Cruzes of the world and the Lindsey Grahams of the world. That's the side you're on now when you're championing war in Iran. I don't give a shit about the Ayatollahs. First of all, we helped install the son of a bitch. No one wants to talk about that either. How do you think he went from Paris to Tehran, Iran in 1979? How do you think he was able to just fly there? Was France not an ally? A NATO member? Could we not have shot the plane down? Oh, wait, but we got along with them for the first 7 or 8 months. Oh, but Iran looked so good in the 70s because women wore miniskirts. Yeah, and then they overthrow the Shah. What's that tell you? Do you think the Shah was a nice guy? Jesus Christ. Oh, but he was allied with us. Well, they hated it, and now they have their country that they wanted, okay? Do they want it now? Hell, I don't know, but I can tell you this. After looking into these so-called protests, it's all propped up. I mean, you have Mossad claiming and telling you that they have people on the ground. It's all propped up. I mean, this is more of a, I've shared my views on the Venezuela thing. Seems to be going all right. The country hasn't plunged in the civil war yet. And very, very good chance that it won't. we did leave the communists in power. Anyway, not what I want to talk about. With Iran, you're going to get into some like Iraq, Syria type scenario yet again, in which you just have to back the, I don't know, best or least bad head chopper. If you overthrow the regime, which head chopper are you going to back this time? Because Jelani's unavailable. He's in Syria as king of that or president of that or whatever. I don't remember any sort of election for President Jelani. You know, that was one of the reasons we took out Maduro, was he held an election that we believe, and very well may be, there's a lot of evidence and some pretty good people on this to say that he didn't actually win the election and he was not the duly elected president of Venezuela. So I guess we need to go in and the D-boys need to snatch up Jelani. Might get a little more resistance with that one, guys. Not saying you wouldn't win, but you might get a little more resistance. And, oh, if you didn't hear in the news, the Kurds are back in the news. Our beloved ally, the Kurds. The crazed communist asshole Kurds. All of a sudden, we're friends with the Kurds again, according to Lady G, a.k.a. Lindsey Graham. Wow, that's your us again. That's your side, right? Because they also don't want illegal immigration, allegedly. But they're doing nothing about it. We're just going to talk about Iran. Great. That's awesome. You know, I think I mentioned it before. You know, the other part is it would be nice if the right had a talking point that wasn't just being led by the left's narratives. And you see that with the Preddy shooting. You saw it with the Renee Good shooting. You see it with the Alex Preddy shooting. They call it, what is that, the like casual observer or constitutional observer, some stupid talking point or label that the left came up with to say that these people are some sort of holier than thou thing, and they can be there and they can do whatever and they can blow whistles and they can do, you know, try to dox the agents. It's nonsensical, and you guys, you lap it up like fucking catnip every time. You're like, no, they're not that, because here it says, and it's like, guys, you're fighting on their territory again. They're controlling the game. Fuck the left. Why are you trying to bargain with them? Why are you trying to reason with them? They don't try to reason with you. They just call you racist Nazi assholes and want you dead. Okay? Even the like moderate ones don't agree with you. They don't want to compromise with you. So which is it? Are they crazed communists who need to go, who need a free helicopter ride? Or can they be reasoned with? Because it can't be both. And the people that say, well, there is a obvious us versus them, it's us versus the commies. And yes, I understand that commie means any number of things. And, you know, commies aren't people and all of that. So even if you draw these kind of non-political lines, if you will, non-right versus left, if you say, well, we're for immigration enforcement and deportations and they are vehemently against, and you say that, well, that's the side. Okay, well, they're leading you down a path and you're following it and you're just reacting to it. And do you think that they can be reasoned with? If someone has the belief, which is antithetical to mine, like, I want all illegal immigrants deported. If someone says, well, I want all illegal immigrants to be allowed to stay, do you think there's a middle ground there? Do you want there to be a middle ground there? Do you want some sort of amnesty deal? Do you want a path to citizenship? What about the Dreamers? I don't think there's a middle ground there. For me, there is no middle ground there. So I have no us on a greater political scale. I have an us as like inner circle and people I know, but my us is very, very small because I am kind of radical on this based on the broader American public. But do you think there's any sort of like middle ground? And they're radical on their side too, of everyone needs to be able to come here, stay here, and, you know, suckle off the teat of the American taxpayer and federal government till the day they die and pass that on to their kids. There's no middle ground there. So why are you trying to engage in some sort of conversation with these idiots? You know, when you're arguing the terms, you're arguing semantics. You just look feeble, weak, and just, you look kind of retarded. I'm not going to lie. Like, why are you, fuck you know, is the perfect reaction to them on this issue, and to Kristi Noem and to Kash Patel when they're talking about taking your firearms. You know, you see even their side, the Democratic side, you saw that on Twitter, you had the Gifford Foundation, old Gab Gifford, talking about how Alex Preddy was shot, and it's like, well, wait a minute. You guys want to tell us that we can't have high-capacity magazines, but he had 2 high-capacity magazines like the American he was. Same thing with Tim Walz talking about, this guy had this, that, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, wait. You're a gun restriction guy. You're a gun grabber. You're a high-capacity magazine, assault weapons ban guy. And now you're going to talk about how this guy was just like the greatest thing in the world, and like, which is it? This is why you can't do the broad us versus them kind of nonsense, because they're all going to kind of, again, you look at the left and they have no moral compass. They have no shoreline, if you will. They have no North Star. They have just an ideology and talking points. It's why you can't argue with them. It's why it's just asinine to even try to argue with them, because there's no basis, there's no logic, there's no reason to it. It's all about the fist. It's all about, you're just going to do what we tell you to do. And you see it, the right will show this to you all the time if you have the eyes to see it. They don't give a shit. Most of these Somalis that are scamming the government up there in Minnesota came in under the George Herbert Walker administration. Herbert Walker Bush, the first Bush, Papa Bush. Okay? They came in under him. Wasn't exactly a neocon, by the way. But they came in under him. They came in under Clinton. And George W. Bush, son Bush, started the war in Somalia again in 2004, I believe. And we're still in Somalia. Invade the world, import the world. I mean, that's been true. How many Afghans lived in the United States before we invaded Afghanistan? Like fucking 2? Now how many Afghans live in the United States? Google that fucking number. That'll make you sick. Or Iraqis, or Sunnis, or Shiites, or any number of this bullshit. I mean, it's ridiculous. What do you think happens when you invade Iran? More terrorists. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Maybe it's because the mainstream right, the conservative America, the conservative leadership has purged anyone with a fucking original thought. You've purged Pat Buchanan back in the day because he had an original thought. He was a Cold War hawk, was known as a paleocon. He was all about winning the Cold War, and the second we won the Cold War, he was like, boom, we're done, it's over. Why do we have NATO? And they're like, shut the fuck up, Pat. Shut up and get in line. Well, Pat didn't get in line. And now you have guys like a Daryl Cooper out there who is on the right. Daryl Cooper is not some libertarian or masquerading as a libertarian. He is very hardcore on the immigration enforcement. He wants all of these people gone. Well, we can't have him in polite society because he dared question the narrative of World War II. Fuck that guy. But no, we'll listen to Mark Levin, or we'll listen to Ben Shapiro, or we'll listen to any number of these retards out there who just say the same tired bullshit. Never saw a war they didn't like, never saw a country they didn't want to invade, never saw a regime they didn't want to fucking overthrow. That's who you're going to listen to, right? Great. How's that working out? The William F. Buckley Jr.'s of the world who got us the immigration, who said nothing about it. The cold hard facts is your us side in the 1980s and the 1990s, the Koch brothers of the world, they're the reason you have sanctuary cities and you have illegal immigration. The guys that founded the Cato Institute and funded it, as Arthur and I found out a couple of weeks ago, not only did they contribute, they started the motherfucker. It's funny how Cato is like pro-immigration, and they'll tell you all the virtues of the immigrants, and they'll try to bust up the narratives when it comes to, illegal immigrants don't really commit crimes at the rate that everyone says that they do. Oh, is that right? Thank you, Cato Institute. Did the Koch brothers give that to you? Hey, once you have the Koch brother that's still alive, I think he's the guy who's into like high-end bottles of wine. That motherfucker spends $20 million on rare bottles of wine. Do you think he has a fucking clue what any of us, what our lives are like? Do you think he cares? He definitely don't care. He's definitely not on your side. Oh, but he has an R next to his name. Fuck him. It's all just so, like, it's so disappointing. And I get it. You know, it's infuriating to see people taking advantage of our country. It's infuriating to see people championing the people taking advantage of our country. And it's infuriating to see the pushback against the good guys trying to do the good fight, do the good thing, and take our country back and make America great again. I get it. But you have to pump the brakes on this shit. Your us is not your us. The guys who are supposedly part of your us, guys and gals, want you disarmed. You heard Kash Patel, oh googly eyes himself, the hotel entrepreneur extraordinaire, the guy who may or may not be dating a Mossad agent, who may or may not be actually his girlfriend. That guy told you straight up, you're not allowed to take a firearm to a protest. Fuck him. He should be fired just for saying that, but that won't happen. And Kristi Noem walked out there. Look, anybody with half a brain who watched that first video the day that Alex Preddy was shot to death, no one on either side who watched that video said that Alex Preddy walked up to them with a 9mm pistol and the officers had to fear for their lives and they had to take him down. No person said that on either side. No one on the right said that. No one in the libertarian middle said that. No one on the left said that. That was never said. That was never shown. But that bitch got up there and lied directly to every single one of us. She flat out fucking lied. Flat out. That person should never be anywhere near power at all. I can't believe she was able to resurrect her career after that admission in her book of killing that dog. I literally cannot believe that. And she has proven how inept she really is. Not only is she inept, but can you imagine? Picture yourself, okay? Somehow you have found your way to the powers that be in the executive branch. You're the head of DHS, the FBI, whatever. But you're the head of some federal organization, right? Something like this happens, and you just walk out there, read a pre-prepared speech, and flat out lie. Flat out. I can't do it. Maybe some of you can do it. I hope none of you can do that. I can't. I don't have that in me to walk up there and just flat out lie. I don't. I couldn't do it. Now, you can say things because you don't have all of the facts and be wrong, but to flat out lie about the incident, that there is video. I mean, this is like Kyle Rittenhouse level of lying. When people come out and they lie about, I mean, there's video of Joy Reid talking about Kyle Rittenhouse, which had video about how he went across state lines with the firearm and he was looking for a fight and he shot 3 black people. There are people out there who still believe that Kyle Rittenhouse shot and killed 3 black people, or shot 3 black people that night, killing 2 of them. Because the level of lie and the level of like racial animosity at the time, or racial tension, because you had the Summer of Love and the BLM riots and all of that going on, people were using that to grift off of and to make their career off of, which now has gone away for that crazy bitch, which is great. Just like Don Lemon, who's now in prison, or in jail, detention. But you could at least early on with Kyle Rittenhouse, when you had some of the talking points about, going across state lines with a gun. Well, you also shouldn't say it because you didn't know, because you literally didn't know, and it turns out that's untrue anyway. You could have a hot take, if you will, on the video of, he's a guy shooting 2 unarmed people and a third armed person who wasn't going for the gun. Like, you can have a stupid hot take on it. That's fine. And then you could have a take on it that becomes wrong based on, evidence that comes up later, where you could talk about, how did this guy have this firearm in this time? He's only this age, or blah, blah, blah. Is he old enough to buy it? And, all the facts can come out later, and you're just wrong. It's not that you were lying. You're just speculating, and it turns out that your speculation was incorrect. We can all get behind that, and we can understand that, because most of us have done that before in our lives. Not with a microphone in your face and a camera and all of that and on record, or, tweeted it or whatever. You probably just thought it in your head. But the Alex Preddy situation has gotten to the Kyle Rittenhouse level, where people are just saying false, inaccurate lies and things that have nothing to do with each other. Both of the videos I played earlier, from the earlier incident where he kicked the tail light out to the incident in which he lost his life, those videos have nothing to do with each other. One is not evidence for or against the other one. They have nothing to do with each other. And I have people out there telling me, look at this video. Don't you see this? Don't you understand what he was doing? What he was trying to do? Yes, I do understand what he was trying to do. And you guys gave him everything he fucking wanted. Idiots. Did he want to die? Probably not. Did he want to get beat up on camera? Absolutely, he fucking did. And you gave it to him. You gave it to him. You knew he was filming. He was filming on the second one. Again, I just, like, I don't understand. Even on the second one. So when we watched the first interaction. When we watch the first interaction, we see the agents take Alex Preddy to the ground. He's on the ground. They're scuffling with him. They don't try to cuff him. They eventually just get up and everybody goes their separate ways. On the second video, it's the same thing. You have overwhelming force. You take him down to the ground. He's on his knees, and no one's trying to cuff him. I don't see cuffs out. I don't see the zip ties out. I'm not sure exactly what the outcome of that was supposed to be. If you just want to beat the shit out of him, I get it. Like, he's got that coming. I get it. But you're not even like Rodney King in the motherfucker. Like, you're just, I don't know. It's almost like when, like when your older brother or when your dad is wrestling with you and he just can overpower you and takes you down and kind of roughs you up and then runs off. I don't know what exactly they were trying to do anyway. It's just very, I don't know. I find there's such a vacuum of thought, mainstream thought on the right, that it's very concerning. It's very depressing. It's very disappointing. I mentioned Pat Buchanan, I think Pat Buchanan, I don't know, he's close to 90, I believe. I mean, he's an old man. Still has wits about him, but I understand, politics is kind of a young man's game. It's in the punditry as well. So he's kind of faded into retirement, and good for him. But, I brought up Daryl Cooper as well. Both guys on the right, both are pretty intelligent guys. Both are pretty well-spoken dudes. They talked about a subject that got them ostracized. And, you don't want to buy into some of the narratives that you hear about that subject. But at a certain point, it just becomes undeniable that certain topic is taboo. It's the third rail. And it's really holding the conservatives or the right back. Because when you have a third rail like that, when you have an issue like on the left, a trans issue that becomes a third rail, the thought stops, because the people who actually do the thinking and actually do the existential thought of where are we going, how did we get here, and where are we going, and what does the future hold, they're thrown out of the movement by all of the crazed nutters like the Ben Shapiros of the world. They're trying to ostracize Tucker Carlson because he's asking questions. You don't have to like Tucker Carlson, but just the idea that you can't question something, just questioning something makes you anti that, is pretty wild to me. I'm going to stop fidgeting with these papers. Just the narratives I see, too, is very disappointing to me, coming from a side that I tend to align with quite a bit in the right, of the, these stupid names that I hear thrown out. Domestic assassin, or what's the other one? Narco terrorist, what have you. Tunnel Vision says it's hard to create graft from original good thoughts. That is a fact. Unless it's Candace Owens. I guess probably not good thoughts on Candace's part. Arthur says Papa worked 12-hour days in the oil fields in the hopes that one day his great-grandchildren could be replaced by H-1Bs and scammed by vape shops and quality leering centers. Yeah. The most unfortunate part of the immigration thing is that it was brought to us by our side, the us. The left didn't care. The left benefited from it as well. But to act like it was the left who imported all these people and it just started under Joe Biden is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Joe Biden assisted. The idea, when I lived in Texas some 15-ish years ago, Obama was president. I mentioned I went to one of the original Tea Party protests, events, whatever they were, in person in San Antonio in front of the Alamo. There was an immigration problem then in Texas, in California, Arizona, everywhere. It was a topic. No one asks why then Governor Rick Perry didn't shut the border down, why we weren't trying to build a wall in Texas, why we weren't doing all the things. And then when Hot Wheels got in there, it's the same thing. He's a gutless fucking political weather vane. He's just a career man. Everybody acts like this immigration problem happened in 2023. It didn't. It's been happening for decades. The Reagan amnesty, which you can debate that till the cows come home, but the idea that this just happened in 2021 is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Your side has done this to you. And now your side is not taking this up in the Congress or in the Senate and trying to do anything. I mean, yes, President Trump stopped it on day one with an executive order. What do you think happens the second someone else on the other side gets power? Or someone just doesn't believe exactly how President Trump believed about the border? You just unwind the executive order. Congress has done jack and shit. That's what they've done. Nothing. They've done nothing. And they will continue to do nothing. We're in a civil war right now, everyone. It's just not kinetic. Okay? When you have states who have their own set of laws, if you will, based on what a judge says, they're in effect not part of the union. When a judge in a district court, federal judge or a judge in a federal district court says, well, I understand that, the current administration wants to do X, but I'm saying, no, you can't do that. Not based on the law, but based on ideology. What do you call that? When you have it's not based on federal law, it's just based on how I feel. And how I feel is, I don't want you to do this, so I'm going to rule against you. You have that happening in New York. You have that happening in Virginia, Washington, D.C., Minnesota, California. What do you call that? When you have the governor of Minnesota, the mayor of Minneapolis, the attorney general of Minnesota saying, we're not going to assist federal law enforcement in enforcing actual just laws on the books of federal immigration law. We're actively not going to assist. We're not going to help them. We're not going to give them information. We're going to actually go against them. What do we call that? A stand-down order. When you have the chief of police of Minneapolis come out and say, I'm not going to help them. We're not going to work with ICE. What does that mean? That feels a little insurrection-y to me. You know, we're in a civil war. It's just not gone kinetic. Now, does the current administration have the stones to do what it needs to do? Doesn't look like it, because apparently Trump had a conversation, phone call, with Tim Walz, and now there's some sort of coordination happening there. There's one side that says that Trump caved. There's another side that says that Trump cracked the whip and got him to do whatever. I'm not going to get into that bullshit, but what really should happen here is Googly Eye Patel should stop talking about how I'm an evil person because I carry multiple magazines and a pistol no matter where the fuck I am, much like some of you do, good God-fearing, amazing Americans. Maybe he should stop talking about that on Fox News and get his ass to Minneapolis and arrest the mayor, arrest the governor, and arrest the attorney general and perp walk them motherfuckers to D.C. Maybe he should do that and make them stand in front of, you know, a judge and jury or whomever and plead their case in front of a DA, a federal district attorney, something like that. That's what you should do, but you don't have the stones to actually do it. So if you don't have the stones to do that, that means you don't have the stones to actually do the bigger deportations in the places that need them. So, for those who are not aware, the first Civil War didn't just happen one day. There was a big buildup, and many presidents in previous to Lincoln who were just didn't have the stones to do anything. I never thought that the Second Civil War would start in Minnesota. I didn't really know where I thought it would start, but Minnesota was not on my bingo card. But hey, here's where we're at. Here's where we're at. You have to perp walk these fuckers. You have to enforce the law. If they're not going to enforce it, if they're going to give stand-down orders, you have to take them and hold them to account for their actions. That's how it has to work. You have to send a message. This pot-shoddy bullshit of like, we're going to go into a neighborhood and we're going to get like one or two guys who are violent criminals, which is great. That doesn't move the needle. Imagine, I talked about self-deportations earlier. Imagine the amount of self-deportations that happen if you snatch the people who are in charge have been running cover for all this bullshit. Why not surge the FBI? Why not surge ICE? Why not send the 101st, 82nd Airborne? I don't know. Why not send them into Minneapolis and secure it? Take it over. It's ours now. It's conquered territory. Where's your fucking governor? Send the D-boys up there to snatch Tim Walz. He'd love to be felt up by the boys in shape. I'm sure he'd love it. And get that stupid bitch wife while you're at it. Jacob Fry, snatch that bitch up too. Snatch them all up. Fly him to Guantanamo Bay for all the fuck I care. But until you actually do that, none of this changes. None of it. It's all just some sort of like political posturing here, there, and everywhere. It's masturbation is what it becomes. It's like kissing your sister. You get nowhere in this whole thing. It's all just nonsensical. And those of you that want to eat it up and be like, yeah, man, we're doing that. You're just lying to yourselves, man. And I don't know, man. Hopefully I'm educating you guys, or at least giving you something to think about. I don't know, but I've been talking for like an hour. Pretty much out of steam at this point. At this point, it just becomes a rant. Anyway, check out the links in the description wherever you're consuming this ad, whether it's Rumble, YouTube, Twitter, or Spotify, or any other podcast, Apple Podcasts. Do they call it iPodcast? Anyway, I don't know. Not an Apple guy. Anyway, check out the description. I'm going to put a link in there so you can go buy some patches or shirts or stickers or whatever from the beloved steak. Get some pretty cool stuff. Again, one of my favorites. If you shoot me, you're gay. Also a good one, though. I think it will cause problems on purpose. Anyway, guys, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for commenting. Appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for supporting it. Go support Steak. Go buy her stuff. Cash app her. Make her a millionaire or something like that. But till next time, everybody, stay safe out there. Carry at protests. Tell Kash Patel to go fuck himself and pray that Kristi Noem has the decency to resign.